Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our class, and we're going to discuss today the different communication skills. Once again, I am Dr. Ronald F. Kulampan, your college professor. What are the strategies for successful interpersonal communication? When we say interpersonal communication, this is communication between or among people. Overview, we're going to discuss in this video the different communication types of communication like dyadic communication, interviewing, telephoning, dictating, and public speaking. Face-to-face meetings are the most common types of communication. In an organization, such information type of interactions are called interpersonal communication. It has the opportunity for immediate feedback involving oral and nonverbal responses. It is not delayed. Many of the communications are with one another person, and such interactions are what we call the dyadic communication, which is one-to-one relationship. Dyadic communication. Dyadic communication is defined as the two persons seeking to exchange information. While considering dyadic communication, two things are important to realize, and they talk about their different views, such as self-perception or idea on a particular matter they are talking about. Dyadic communications relationship is very common between two persons. Self-perception. When somebody is talking about something or seeking advice from another person, they talk about the self-perception on the particular topic. Self-perception is how the person perceives other personality. It talks about how you understand or how you infer the meaning from whatever you observe, from whatever you see, or whatever you feel. Self-perception can be tested through honest feedback from an intimate friend. You can observe honesty or truthfulness of a person by just looking at his nonverbal cues, such as the eye contact, or gesture, or body reaction. You may judge yourself and others from your point of view, and you might be wrong, right or wrong. Jumping to conclusions quickly may be dangerous. So, in performing dyadic communication, it is very important that you listen carefully to his or her understanding. What are the self-perception styles in dyadic communication? Self-perception styles depends on the oral responses and the nonverbal responses. When somebody is talking with another person, he or she observes first the nonverbal cues, such as the actions, the body actions, body reactions, gestures, eye contacts. Those are the nonverbal responses. They say that action speaks louder than words. That's why we better understand the meaning of the message from another person based on his or her action. Oral responses is the feedback by words. And through the oral responses and nonverbal responses, you are going to create your own self-behavior, and then you're going to respond how you perceive the other person. Then you're going to give your own oral response and nonverbal response. Take a look at a drama. Most probably, if one character is angry to one to another character, most probably that character might get angry. Dyadic communication relationship. It is impossible to avoid response or communication at all. In every messages being communicated, there is expected feedback. The feedback is based, okay, on the understanding of that person. Unidirectional communication lacks feedback. Unidirectional communication happens between a boss and an employee. So most probably, this dyadic communication is a downward communication, meaning to say from higher position to lower position in an organization. Unidirectional communication is useful when you are going to give order or instruction. When you give order, such as memo, you post and then you post that on the bulletin board, then that is unidirectional communication. However, if you're going to talk with your subordinate, no, of what he or she is going to do by giving instructions, that is also unidirectional communication. Some people say it is impossible not to communicate. Nobody, of course, none of us has an experience not to communicate every single day, every moment. We try to communicate with other people. We try to give them a personal message, or you can simply call them by a messenger, right? Turning away from someone is also a form of communication. Turning away can be a response or feedback to a given message to you. Maybe you don't like the message given to you. You turn your back to him or to her. That is also a response. We have the minimal interpersonal communication and extensive interpersonal communication. As you can see on the model here, on your right, no, we have letter A. Okay, letter A communicating with letter B. Letter B is communicating with letter A. Letter B is communicating to letter C, so as to make response to letter B. Letter C communicating to letter D, giving feedback to letter C. Minimal feedback, meaning to say, this is a very organized type of communication where you give feedback only to the immediate person you are dealing with. Okay, in an organization, maybe in a call center, no, the top superior talks with the manager. The manager gives feedback, okay, to the CEO, for example, or the top manager. And then the top manager talks to the team leader, that is letter C. And team leader talks with letter D. Okay, the call center agent on the lowest position cannot talk directly to the highest position. Okay, this happens. Conflict might happen because you are bypassing. No, you are bypassing your immediate superior. So this is a very organized communication where you are given only the privilege to talk only to your immediate superior. Extensive interpersonal communication is a kind of communication that you can bypass another person. No? For example, in a classroom, a teacher, that is the letter A, talks with the class president talks with the vice president talks with the letter B, who is the class secretary. Class secretary can go directly to the teacher, no, communicate to the teacher, something like that, no, directly without consulting letter C, letter B, or letter A. This is also what we call the grapevine model of communication. No? Here, this is not unidirectional. There is no position, no, involved. One person can talk with another person without consulting the nearby person. Functional relationships can be two parties communicating with a common aim. So, functional relationship can be if there is a project. Okay, this may happen if there is a project, no, in a company where you talk with your subordinates, for example, and then you're going to do the task assigned to your group. Functional relationships such as the interviewing process, no? Dyadic communication, this is communication between the HR and the applicant, no? For example, instructional interview is to give instruction, no, to a specific person. Telephone exchange is when you talk over the telephone. Grade review, such as the performance review, no, this is between the manager or the rater and the employee who is the ratee. Job termination, of course, job termination cannot be announced. No, it is a discussion between the HR and the employee to be terminated. The types of relationship talks about the levels between two persons. No, the levels of relationship depends on the status of two persons. It is very important that you know what type of relationship, no, you have with the person you are talking with. Okay, so level by position in a company, for example. Very intimate to non-intimate, meaning to say this is a mutual relation, no, between lovers or between family. Okay, family to friends and friends to acquaintances. Okay, family relationship different is very different between the intimate one, intimate language. These are pwedeng maglandian because they are family. Unlike in intimate relationship, you can call, you can give, or you can say I love you to one another. No communication with a stranger starts with direct purpose. Most probably, strange relationship, no, starts with a hi, hello, very formal, or else it will be odd between two persons, no, who meet for the first time to feel close with one another. Always a pleasant start. Three types of dyadic communications in business. Okay, in business we have interviewing, telephoning, and dictation. Interviewing. When interviewing, a job interview may be the most intense dyadic communication you will ever encounter. Okay? Sino sa inyo, who among you experience interview? Isn't it nerve-wracking? Isn't it nerve-wracking means you're kind of nervous, no, for the first time you experience interview. Some colleges have career development offices for guiding their graduates. An interview is always with a purpose and needs to be prepared. So when you are going to attend for an interview, always prepare. Interview purposes. Okay? You interview because you are seeking for a position. Okay? When you want to have a higher position in a company, you will undergo interview. Informing on a job, okay, the HR talks with the applicants, no, about the job. Solving problem, okay, asking question to your immediate superior, or the superior is trying to interview you about the project details like that. Supporting solution. Okay, this can be between the call center agent and the team leader, no? Trying to resolve what's the problem, no? Counseling employee, evaluating employee, and gathering information. What are the responsibilities of an interviewee? Prepare before the interview. Okay? Prepare, meaning to say, prepare mentally, prepare physically. Okay? Relax yourselves, okay? And then dress yourselves accordingly or appropriately. Understand yourself, okay? Why do you want this? For example, why do you want the job? Why do you want the position? Understand your stand. Understand your personal point to the position you are applying to. Know the details about the available position, okay? And then relate your skills with the details about the position. Okay, do homework on company, meaning to say you understand what is or are the company's objectives, vision, and mission. Okay, what are the particular services the company is offering? Rehearse possible questions and speak with insiders. Procedures during the job interview. Give positive first impression. Handshake and smile. Be courteous. No? Show the interviewer that you are courteous, that you are trustworthy, by that you are sincere with your application by giving them a courteous attitude. State your understanding of interview and organize your answer. Listen attentively. Ask thoughtful questions and offer a conclusion at the end. Follow up after the job interview. Promptly accomplish if any specific action is or are required. On computer interview, it is very important that we understand that interviews through computer conferencing, okay, is not that costly. Many distant interviews are conducted in this way. I would like to share with you that when I was applying for a teaching position in an international school in Singapore, in China, I underwent a conference interview, no, via Skype that time. Basic technological aids are needed when you are going to undergo computer interview. Number one, there must be a high-speed internet, not Wi-Fi, but a high-speed internet, no wired. Computer at each end, small camera, show your sincerity through your smile and through your eye contact on the camera. So, meaning to say, even though you are not facing with the person you are talking with or with the people you are talking with, always look at the camera. There must be a clear microphone where there is noise cancellation. There's some software to enhance your presentation skills. Try out equipment beforehand to avoid a technical problem. Avoid excessive movement. No, stand straight, sit straight. No, and make yourself presentable. Use audio-visual check before the start. This will give an impression to your employer. Dress as interview was live, no? Person to person. Okay? Assume everything you say will be heard and avoid high contrast clothing and try to relax. What are the interviewer's responsibilities? In a patterned interview, interviewer controls the direction of the conversation. There must be a prepared question, no, beforehand. An already agreed upon form may be used, okay? They already have your resume and they know more than you know about them. Objectives of pattern interview. Recruiters often have four goals: evaluate the job qualification, determine your oral communication skills or ability, and give essential facts about the company and establish goodwill. Interviewers read each applicant's resume prior to meeting. So when you are asked, tell me about yourself, tell the interviewer something that is not or that are not written on the resume. Be aware of the national and state laws about employment practices and omit personal bias from your prepared question. Okay? Before the interview, try to make interviewing comfortable. Greet warmly, ask about hobbies. Okay, asking him or her about his or her hobbies is a good start. After brief warm-up, make purpose of interview clear. Tell what you plan to cover in the interview and encourage the applicant to do most of talking about control, but control the flow of interview. Ask appropriate questions. Be open, give only open-ended questions and statements and elaborative questions. Dead-end questions, yes or no, one-word answer. Use effective method. Secondly is telephoning. After interviewing, we're going to proceed with telephoning or calling another person in a telephone line. Telephoning is a type of interpersonal communication that most frequent and extensively used. Points to consider in international telephoning: be aware of time zones and speak clearly. Restate and summarize more often and follow up the conversation with a fax or a letter. Sender's preparation prior to a phone call. Know your specific purpose and be clear rather than having rambling thoughts. Interview yourself if calling after a long time. Introduce yourself pala and know the precise person you are calling and the time to call. Give thought to your opening statements and take notes. Have necessary documents with you. Message receivers guidelines: be patient, listen, and don't interrupt. Restate and end politely. The third is dictating. In dictating, it is a special type of dyadic communication in which two persons either communicate directly or through an electronic device. You want to communicate with another person with a third party involved. You want someone else type a message for you by whatever you have dictated and he has either recorded or written in shorthand form. Shorthand is now frequently overtaken by recorders, and large hotels also own this facility for their customers. When dictating, it is suggested that you plan your specific purpose, organize your idea, speak in a firm, clear voice, and consider 7 more suggestions, such as give your name, precise name, the address of the individuals to whom the message is to be sent. Speak clearly. Okay, be careful with plurals. If there is an S, pronounce S. Repeat numbers. Always confirm numerical data. Sounds like P and B, F and V, T and D can be misunderstood. So open your mouth correctly. Spell unusual words or names being used for the first time. Suggest punctuation, especially when in doubt. Avoid side comments. Dictate at an appropriate rate and not too fast, not too slow. And suggest with when you need the recorded info and where you can be reached. Any question? Let's continue. Public speaking is one of the communication skills that one should understand. Public speaking is an enduring legacy. It can be nerve-wracking, but it is also fulfilling. Public speaking is an enduring legacy because it started 476 BC. Horace, Sicilian teacher, offered lessons in rhetoric. Before Plato, who is a Greek philosopher, in 427 to 347 BC, viewed rhetoric as a means of seeking truth. Aristotle, in 384 to 322 BC, who is a philosopher and student of Plato, viewed rhetoric as the art of persuasion. In 18th and 19th centuries, colonists delivered speeches in the quest for independence. 21st century, public speaking remains as an indispensable vehicle for expressing ideas. Now that the election is near approaching, we can see a lot of public speakers, politicians in public places speaking. The three reasons for public speaking are as follows. Number one is to inform the public, to make them knowledgeable about something. Second is to persuade, to make them believe on your opinion, or to celebrate, commemorate special occasions. Public speaking as a form of communication, such as dyadic communication, communication between two people. Small group communication, a small number of people who can see and speak directly with each other. Mass communication, communication between a speaker and a large audience. Okay, it can be YouTube Live or Kumu, no? That is mass communication. And public speaking, of course, there is a rostrum and you speak in front of a lot of people. Public speaking is similar with other forms of communication because of its sensitivity to the listener. As communicator, we should be always sensitive to our listeners. Are they interested? Do they get bored? Or do I have to change my style? You should be sensitive to the needs of your listeners. Otherwise, you will not be understood. Listener, give feedback. Level of preparation is just the same and the degree of formality are different from other types of communication because you should be formal when you do public speaking. What are the benefits of public speaking? You become more knowledgeable person, you hone critical thinking and listening skills, you enhance your career as a student, and you accomplish professional and personal goals, exploring and sharing values. A good speech is a blend of form and content. Form is how you arrange the idea. Content is secondary because if there is no good form of the speech, content will not be understood. So that's why number one is the form. You start with the introduction, then the details in the body, and give your insights via conclusion. The content is the topic of the speech. Public speaking training sharpens your ability to reason or to think critically. Learning to make claims and then presenting evidence and reasoning that logically support them It's essential. Enhancing your career as a student by preparing speeches involves numerous skills that you can use in other courses, such as in research, you're going to make defense. You're going to defend your study in front of the panel, and it's either they intimidate you, the panel intimidate you, or you intimidate the panel. Organization, okay, in a school organizations, no? Creative thinking, accomplishing professional and personal goals. In public speaking, people at work use public speaking to convey information, to persuade and motivate others, and even to celebrate their special skills. These people are speakers in a company. Skill in public speaking tops the list of sought-after skills by many organizations. Why? Because if you are a good public speaker, people will always look up to you. Okay? Personal goals. Public speaking offers a way to communicate your personal concerns to other people. What are the skills employers want in college graduates? Number one, oral communication. Number two, interpersonal, or your skill dealing with other people. Analytical is your ability to think. Teamwork is how you're going to work collaboratively with your co-employees. Flexibility, computer literacy, proficiency in field of study, written communication, leadership, and work experience. Again, these are the skills employers want in college graduates. Exploring and sharing values. Public speaking enables you to express values and explore those of others in a civil dialogue, regardless of whether or not the audience shares your viewpoint. Communication is an interactive process in which people exchange and interpret messages with one another. The elements of communication, especially the speaker's consideration. What are the elements of communication? Number one is the source. Second is the source is the one creating the message. The message is the content of the communication, your thoughts, and the ideas. Receivers are the people who are going to listen to you, while the channel is the medium or the device or the tool that you use to communicate the idea. We have also what we call the noise. We should not disconsider the noise. These are the interference that serves as a barrier to communication. Noise can be physical noise or psychological noise. Physical noise are noise that we hear, the noise that we see, okay, the noise that we experience, no, that we feel, okay. Psychological noise is the noise inside your brain. When the person is not ready to listen to you, that is psychological noise. When the person is dealing with a problem and cannot focus to the message you are trying to express, then maybe that person is experiencing psychological noise. Shared meaning is a mutual understanding between the speaker and the audience. Shared meaning means to say you understand the message in the same ground. You don't have your own personal bias, but you understand one another because you have the shared meaning. What are the other factors to consider in communication process? Self-concept. Okay, what are the strengths and limitations of yourself? The audience. Okay, always consider your audience readiness to accept your message. Maybe their cultural background or political background is not appropriate to the message you are trying to convey. The context, the influences on the speaker. Okay? Speech goals, what is your focus and the outcome of your message? What you want them to do, something like that. Public speech and pluralistic voices. Public speaking offers an opportunity to recognize and appreciate diversity in all the form. We should always consider that our listeners are a group of people coming from different religious background, political background, or indigenous background. Okay, pluralistic character is reflected in people of various ethnic groups, age groups, persons of different sexual orientation, persons with disability, and in religious diversity. Ethnocentrism. What is ethnocentrism? It is the belief that the ways of one's own culture are superior to those of other culture. We should avoid showing ethnocentrism. Okay, you should treat every culture special. What are the challenges and choices of public speaking? One of the challenges is simulating tasks or problem. Another problem is the choices of the options or alternatives for solving tasks or problem. Hence, we all want to make a difference. Speech in democracy is as members of the democratic society, we have the right to speak freely, and we have the equally important responsibility to speak responsibly. Though we are living in a democratic country where one can freely express his or her opinion, still you must be responsible, on every word that is or that are coming from your mouth. We should be considerate with a different background because we are living in a diverse society. Making a difference is the primary goal of public speaking. Ordinary citizens can and do accomplish great deal through the power of public speaking. Again, students, I want you to be good speakers, try to motivate and inspire other people. Thank you very much for listening, and I would like you to watch a sample of public speaking.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my passion and to my love, and according to my wife, my mistress in life. 7 years ago, I embarked on a journey to analyze 5,000 public speakers from all over the world, amateurs and professionals, in order to distill and understand what makes a good speaker good, what makes a great speaker great, and what makes an outstanding speaker outstanding. The result? 110 core skills, with loads of sub-skills. So what does it look like? It looks like this. These are the 110 core skills, and the equation is simple. The more of them you fulfill, the greater you are. Now, 110 skills, that's quite a tad too many to go through in one TED Talk, don't you agree? So what I've done is I've picked out my absolute favorites, and I'd like to show you a demonstration of what it can look like. Imagine that this chair is something that you want somebody else to believe in. You want somebody else to buy into this. This is your idea. This is you wanting to make your voice heard. This gives you two options. Either you're on this side of the chair and you're a fairly mediocre communicator, you shoot from the hip, you hope for the best, And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Option number 2 is that you're on this side of the chair and you know exactly what you're doing in every instance of time. You know that by taking a step forward, you increase focus. You know that by tilting your head slightly to the side, you increase empathy. You know that by changing the pace of what you are saying, you increase focus. And you know that by shifting yourself lower, you increase trust. And you know that by lowering your voice, you get anticipation. And you know for absolute certain that if you pause, you get absolute and undivided attention. Now the question then is, can everyone be on this side of the chair? Can everyone become good at these skills? What do you think the answer is? Of course it is. Why? Because it's called presentation skills, 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 skills. It is not, has never been, and shall never be called a talent. You're not born with a particular gene that makes you brilliant on stage. Something you acquire through life. Now, as I said, 110 skills, that's quite the number. So what I've chosen to do is I've picked out the 5, would I say, most important skills. Whenever somebody comes to me and they want coaching, this is what I focus on. And then I'll actually give you 4 bonus skills at the end as well. Sounds okay? So let's start with 2 of my favorites from body language, which is skill 34 and skill 69. That is not intentional. Now 34, what am I doing? What could I be doing differently in this case? Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here today. Good of you to come. What should I have avoided? I should have avoided closing my body language, because whenever a human being closes their body language, it is a sign that they feel threatened in one way or another. So I should have continued with an open body language. So let's have a look at number 69, which looks like this. I'll have to start up here. So when a presenter starts like this, they go, what should I do better now? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the most influential subjects known to mankind. Now, this will be super interesting. We'll be going through this. You'll be having an amazing time. Wow, it'll blow you away. What should I have avoided? Reversing. Look what a double incorrect looks like. It looks like this. Ladies and gentlemen, absolute pleasure to have you here. Good of you to come. Well, a double correct looks like this. Ladies and gentlemen, an absolute pleasure to have you here. Good of you to come. Is there a difference? Of course there is. The biggest difference is in here. I can feel a difference while doing those 2 versions. You become what you are. Now let's ask ourselves, yeah, but David, the closed body language things, what shall I do with my hands? Where shall I put them? And the interesting thing with the closed body language is that wherever I went, all over the world studying these people, it seems like we've got a general kind of locked body language positions. And I'll show you my favorites that I found. We've obviously got the classical fig leaf position. Then we have the double bunny position. You have the right bunny position, the left bunny position, the right hockle, the left tackle. Then you have the forklift. You, of course, have the peacock with flapping elbows. You have the major, the Merkel, the prayer, and the beggar. One of my personal favorites is the British horse rider. And the British horse rider, it's a person who holds their hands like this, puts it just above their chest, and it's like they're off somewhere. Oh, God, there's a fox over here. And then we found 2 T-Rexes as well in the study. Such a weird thing presenting like this, or like this. Okay, so you mean, David, that we need to have an open body language? Yeah, that's what I mean. And I'm not allowed to have them in my pockets, not allowed to have them in my major or the double bunny? No. But what on earth shall I do with them then? What you should use them for is what is called functional gesturing, to show that something is getting better, or that something is getting less good, or that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we are going to go through. Use your gestures for what they're supposed to be used for. And what's interesting with this is that if you imagine the time we've spent on this planet as our race, how much of that time have we spent using gestures and nonverbal communication in order to communicate what we're saying? Is that more than verbal? Absolutely. Let me give you a demonstration of how important it is. So I'll say something now, and everything I say will be super positive. My facial expressions will be super positive, and the way I say it will be super positive, but my hands will be saying the opposite. Are you with me? Because this requires some focus. All of you should learn more about public speaking, because if you do that, you will become better. You will grow and you will develop as a human being. People will love your presentations, listening to your arguments, and just generally loving whatever you're doing. So do yourself a great favor, learn more about this particular subject, because you'll be thanking yourself for the rest of your life. And particularly you have been absolutely incredible, so I thank you for listening here. Thank you. Now the question is this: did you listen to what I was saying or what I was doing? I believe that you focused entirely on what I was doing, and that is the case with body language and gestures. If it's not saying the same thing as what you're saying verbally, there's a discrepancy and a disturbance in the communication. Let's move on from body language to a couple of tips on voice. And the first one I'm going to give you is about pace. So listen to this. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to take you through now is incredibly important now and for the rest of your future life. We'll go through the cortex, we'll go through the limbic and the reptilian system. We'll go through a psychologically advanced profile where we'll take you through the entire steps of the structure. We'll then look at how that relates to Aristotle, ethos, logos, and pathos, and I'll carry on in this pace. Compare that to this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to take you through something that is entirely and utterly boring. Something that you will have no use of in your entire life. And every second spent listening to me now and on will be a waste of time. And now look at your faces. You're like, whoa, that last bit. I want more of that. That was super interesting. The useless stuff. Yeah, I don't want the brain so much. I want the second bit. Why? Because your brains, they react to when a person has a low pace. You think that what I'm saying is more important than when I have a high pace, because that illustrates that I don't really want to be there. There are exceptions to this rule, but that is the basics. So keep a calm pace. My next tip goes on pauses. The pause. Is the pause important? Absolutely it is. So let me give you a classical rhetorical proverb. Now, without pauses, and it goes like this. Did you know that every single decision you've taken in your entire life and will take for the rest of your life is based on one thing and one thing only? If you give that to the people listening to you, that is the feeling. That is what will move them. Now I'll add pauses. And it sounds like this. Did you know that every single decision you've taken in your entire life and you will take for the rest of your life is based on one thing and one thing only? And that is an emotion. Now, if you give that emotion to the people listening to you, they will take the decisions you want them to take. Is there a difference? Absolutely. But you know what? Some people are afraid of the pause. So they go like, whoa, am I going to do one of those? I'm not. I refuse. I prefer to compromise. And do you know what the compromise for a pause is? What does it sound like? It's like a squawk of sheep when you listen to certain conferences. Now, there's nothing among these 110 skills that lowers your ethos and your credibility more than because it signals that you don't know what you are saying and where you're going in your talk. So let me give you a demonstration. Did you know that every single decision you've taken in your entire life and will take for the rest of your life is based on one thing and one thing only? And that is a feeling. I think you prefer the one with silence. Now, those were the 5 main skills I wanted to take you through. And if you haven't used them before and you start using them as a public speaker, they will make a difference to your speech. I would like to treat you to 4 small skills as well, just to give you an appreciation of how small a skill can be, but still have a great impact. And it looks like this. And those were the 4 skills. Did you follow them? Number 1 was I looked up, which illustrates that I'm thinking, which increases your sense of presence for me on stage. The second thing I did was that I did an audible inhale, which makes your brain believe that I'm going to say something that's exciting. I then combined that with a Dictation smile, which means that I smile with my mouth and with my eyes. Did you fall for it? Because what I did as well was this. I did a self-laughter, and also that increases anticipation of what I'm going to say. So 4 small skills executed in 5 seconds changes the state of your mind. Now, I'd like to pick out one of those and just end off with that, and that is the Dictation smile. Dictation smiles has in studies shown that you are more likely to be married, less likely to be divorced, you're happier, you're more content with life, and you actually are more relaxed in situations like this. So I asked myself, am I a Dictation smiling person? And to figure that out, I walked over to my computer and I logged in and I looked at all my 60,000 Google photos. They're not all of me, but of family members and others. I looked at mine and it seemed like my brain required, short of a miracle, to do a Dictation smile. You know, where you smile with your entire face. I thought, that's not fair. And considering the psychological benefits, I better learn this. So I spent not 4, but 6 months learning how to do a Dictation smile. And suddenly my brain was launching Dictation smiles in just everyday happiness. It's beautiful, and I felt happier as a human being. I want to show you what it looks like. Now, every time I go on my summer holidays, I take a photo of myself. And these were the last years of those photos. This was 2014, there's no Dictation smile. 2015, definitely no Dictation smile. 2016, still no Dictation smile. 2017, no Dictation smile. This year, Dictation smile. Does it make a difference? Absolutely. It brings joy to you and stability to me. Now we've come to the end of this talk, and I would like to end with something that relates to boxing. You know, Muhammad Ali and the likes, they have combinations for when they're going to strike somebody, knockout. And the same kind of combinations exist in public speaking as well. So what I'd like to show you is this combination. I'm going to start with a number 34, go to number 8, and then we'll carry on to 69 and 98 to 67 and 18, 22, and 101 and 21. Are you ready for the combination? Okay, looks like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've had fun, that you have learned, but more than anything, I hope that you feel inspired to become a greater public speaker. Because anybody can become good, anybody can become great, and everybody can become outstanding. Because it all comes down to one single